What's up, everyone? Coach D speaks with the MeidasTouch Network. So a phrase that I've been hearing a lot since I've been calling out black conservatives dismissing white conservative racism is all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And I am telling you, Jason Whitlock is the epitome of that statement. Watch as he nods in agreement while Charlie Kirk makes more racist statements.
What started as a good intention to try to eradicate the injustices of saying that, only whites can eat at the restaurant has tragically metamorphosized into a beast that has even more hatred than some of the elements of the antebellum South.
So in case anyone missed that, in that incoherent rambling, Charlie Kirk just basically said that diversity, equity, and inclusion is worse than slavery. The intentions of righting the wrongs of recent history by forcing companies to reverse their racist policies is worse than slavery. You see, this is what happens when schools teach watered down history in order to make it more palatable for American fragility and forced patriotism. And I know what you guys are going to say. You're going to say, let's just ignore Charlie Kirk. But unfortunately, we can't. This guy goes to college campuses and spreads this bullshit. This guy has about a dozen black conservatives who are ignorantly listening and regurgitating all of this shit to impressionable young black people. Ignoring him and not combating his bullshit is exactly what he wants. Allowing his racism to go unchecked is exactly what he wants. Ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. It actually gives it the incubator to spread. I mean, look at Whitlock agreeing. Both of these guys have large platforms. We need the same to counter their misinformation. This is why it's so important to follow the MeidasTouch Network, myself, and other Meidas contributors. This is the only way you stay informed so you can combat their misinformation.
The promise was that we were going to get a colorblind America, and to offer an olive branch to some of my conservative friends that still lift up MLK. They want to lift up MLK because they want to turn the page on race. And I'm totally on that program. What I'm trying to counter is the reason we talk about race so much is because we have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time.
In the past few months, we've had racists at an Alabama football game telling black college football players to go back to the projects. We've had police officers in different districts all around this country passing racist text messages back and forth to each other. Some of those text messages were related to actual crimes committed against black people while cops were executing traffic stops. We had police officers who were found to have torture chambers in Louisiana where they took black people in order to torture them. And those are just the ones I remember. We would love to turn the page on racism. We would love to stop talking about race. I'm 100% sure that Martin Luther King Jr. would have loved to stop talking about race. But unfortunately, we're not white. And we have to deal with racism every single day. Your uncomfortableness about having to talk about racism pales in comparison to the hate we endure when confronting it.
Totally unsympathetic to this, that you have a black family that's driving on an expressway in the Natchez Trace in Mississippi, and they're running out of gas, and the only gas stations are white owned and operated, and they say, yeah, sorry, blacks aren't allowed to get gas, and they have to pull over, and they're out of gas on the side of the Natchez Trace in central Mississippi, and they have to wait for a nice, good Samaritan to pull over and give them gas. I don't want to live in that country. I think that a law that said, no, that black family has to be given gas is a good law. Let me be perfectly clear.
No, let me be perfectly clear, Charlie. You would love to live in that America. In fact, if you were alive during that time, you wouldn't be the Good Samaritan family offering that black family some gas. You'd be standing at the gas station holding a Blacks Go Home sign while Jason Whitlock is shining your shoes and staring up at you smiling.
Here's the most important thing, and I'm not saying it's because of this, but Black America was getting richer, they were getting stronger, and families were largely still put together before the Great Society, Voting Rights Act, and Civil Rights Act. 60 years later, Black America is in a worse position. I'm not saying it's because of the Civil Rights Act. I'm not saying it's because of the Voting Rights Act, but somewhere something went awry. And now we have more conversations about race. We have more fixation on race than any other time in my adult life.
Okay, so Charlie Kirk obviously thinks the rest of us are as ignorant as his typical audience. When you name the Civil Rights Act, and then name the Voting Rights Act, and then you say, well, something happened to the black family during that time, you're absolutely blaming it on the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And it's like you seem to forget about mass incarceration and the war on drugs and other discriminatory judicial practices that broke up the black family. Anyone who knows history knows that anytime the black community began to thrive, racist politicians and racist judges conspired to stifle that success. Charlie Kirk is a racist who's ignorant of history, and anyone arguing that he doesn't think like Donald Trump or that Donald Trump doesn't endorse his racism is either too ignorant to see it or too damn racist to care. Period.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.